It's very popular nowadays to talk about mobility. I think it's probably because of the increased popularity of CrossFit that made athletes and coaches in general more aware of mobility work. Now, it is true that in many cases, a lack of mobility might actually be due to a lack of mobility. Like your tissues are too tensed, or you might have some scar tissue preventing mobility or something like that. But in reality, I would think that most mobility issues, especially when performing big lifts, is coming from not a problem with the tissue itself, but rather a lack of stability. I'm going to explain. Let's say that you are squatting and you have problem keeping your back like in the right position, like you're using your arch, and you have a problem like going all the way down. Well, okay, it's a hip flexor mobility issue. Your hip flexor is tight. Well, maybe it's because, so you do mobility work for the hip flexor, and it doesn't get any better. Well, maybe the problem is not that the tissue, the hip flexor is tight. Maybe it gets tight when squatting because it's compensating for something else. Remember this, your body hates you, but it really likes you. It doesn't care that you're trying to get a better squat or bigger quads. It only knows that there's a big ass weight on your shoulder trying to pin you down, and if you're not capable of sustaining it, you will die underneath. So if your body doesn't feel stable and secure, it can't lift the weight efficiently. So the body will always try to create stability. But if the muscles that should be responsible for creating stability in the squat are weak, or you're not capable of activating them soon enough, or you're not capable of creating enough tension to stabilize the load, well, the body will look for something else, a different muscle, to create that hip stability. So for example, in a squat, I should be using my glutes and core to stabilize the load. I use my glutes by rooting my feet out to activate the glutes and trying to spread the floor apart when squatting down, activating my glutes. Now, if my glutes are inefficient, if I'm not good at firing them, my glutes don't stabilize enough. If my core is not strong, now you have to contract your core as if trying to resist a punch in the stomach. So if that and that is not strong enough to create stability, then you might need to tense up other muscle to create that stable base. So you will contract those hip flexors to create that hip stability. The problem is not that your hip flexor is tight. Your problem is that your glutes and abdominals are weak, and they're not capable of creating that stable foundation that you need to be able to squat, and as a result, you will tense the flexors. Same thing with a bench press. I mean, if you're not capable of keeping that strong upper back lats position when pressing, you will create stability by tensing up that pec minor, anterior deltoid, trapezius, and that create that position here that will create shoulder problems. So really, you have to think that the problem is not always that the tissue is tense because it is too tight. It might be tight because you have other muscles that are too weak. So if you're stretching a muscle that doesn't need to be stretched, instead of trying to focus on the muscle that needs to be strengthened, then you might actually make the matter worse. So you really have to diagnose properly. Is it a tissue issue? It's cool. Or is it a strength issue in different muscles?